Yeah, I guess we're kind of in a weird chapter because this, like, I didn't think we'd be jumping to Ziggy right away. I figured there'd be like some build up. Maybe Ziggy wouldn't be directly on the planet, and it would be kind of like a prelude to the boss. Like, okay, we got to get this done before we can even set up the big fight, and then maybe have like an arc in between those ones. But now they're going to this planet where Ziggy's at, and they're going to fight him and try and stop him. So like I don't think Ziggy is going to lose here. I don't think that like anything like too crazy is going to happen. I would assume, just because this is directly out of the time skip. And one thing that all of the main cast has that is dangerous right now from a story standpoint is it's been 3 years, so they all are gonna, like, they all should be well more powerful and have new abilities and stuff. So they're gonna be much more dangerous in a fight than where we obviously left off in like the whole Narrow Empire arc. So it just makes me wonder, like, are these guys going to be like big threats? I know Ziggy is, but it's like Ziggy's minions are not, they're not the same as like a standard these are my bad guy minion, because they are at the end of the day just robots. They're tools for them. So like as we have like Killer Mark II and Brigadine Mark II, that like these two advanced versions, it's not like these are even entirely new characters, but they kind of are. It's obviously really different when you start getting into like machines, and then the difference between a machine like Witch, who's way more of like a singular person, versus like, you know, Killer and Brigade, who are more set to be like actual machines, like programmed to like fulfill a specific function with no seemingly free will of their own. It definitely makes me worry though, because I didn't really care for the designs too much of the last two, and these new two, Brigadine Mark II, like, he looks kind of cool. I like the cool lion mask. And Killer, he looks fine, nothing too crazy. The ones I worry about, like, I don't think Wizard, I would assume, would die, because he seems like the leader of them. I mean, like, but at the same time, it's like them dying doesn't really do anything. It just gives Ziggy an opportunity to make another one that's better. Clown, though, is the one that, at least I know that because it's Brigadine and Killer Mark II, it's not like fully new robot kind of titles. It's not fully new versions of, or not fully new robots, it's new versions of older ones. So like if Clown or Wizard died, I would assume what would replace them is Clown Mark II and Wizard Mark II. That's just one thing that I was a little bit worried about after we saw after we saw Jaguar mess, like, completely pretty much body Brigadine and Killer. It just made me worry about Clown, I think, specifically. Obviously Wizard too, but Clown is my favorite out of their designs. I think he looks the coolest as this weird space opera Pennywise looking dude. He just looks strange. I do really like the design, so I'm hoping he's gonna be cool. But at the same time, I don't really know. I guess you could easily just have the main cast demolish these guys to show off their power, because like what's gonna happen if like these ones get destroyed? So he just makes another one. I would personally, this is something that I just want to mention, because like the chapter itself obviously was way more set up. I just want to bring this up because I actually kind of like the idea of it. If Ziggy has been, like, say over the time skip where Shiki and all them have been getting more powerful, maybe Ziggy hasn't been upping his own power, but he's been upping more of his army and their capabilities and stuff, but he's around as powerful as he was beforehand, which would make sense if he was, you know, he didn't go out and train and do stuff to upgrade himself or do anything like that, because he's busy with, you know, the expanse of all this stuff that he's got under his command. But you could have, say, Shiki beat Ziggy to a degree, but because what we know about obviously the machines and stuff is when one of them is defeated, they just, like, he'll just make a better one. So he would know what his weaknesses are and then modify them and, like, you know, give himself a new body, which would make sense. I think it would make sense also for a robot, though, to be able to get a more direct upgrade from a fight where they lose and survive, and then, you know, look over like the data, see where they were in their weak points, adjust and tweak their own modifications and stuff, versus like them just doing upgrades over time that they just feel like this is what I'm upgrade here. It makes more sense of like, oh man, I was busy trying to upgrade this thing, but clearly my problem was this other thing. And that just to me would make more sense as to how they would get more boosts. Because obviously if Ziggy was defeated, the logical thing would be that he would upgrade himself. And that's the difference, I think, between him and, say, like any human kind of bad guy that Mishima would do. Like, you can still have them get stronger, which is fine. But obviously that depends on, say, like, Lucia, who wasn't that powerful when he first showed up, versus, like, Zeref, who was obviously, like, absurdly powerful. You need a different kind of, like, setting of how they're defeated and follow up. Like, obviously, like, you need the context to understand, like, okay, this is why this happened, and show, like, how it's going to be followed up upon. And I think with, again, machines upgrading themselves, as I said, I think it would be really cool for Ziggy, and do it kind of in a way that is beneficial for Ziggy, but is done to kind of like create a time opening. Like, what if they think Ziggy, or don't even think he's destroyed, because obviously that was already a point earlier on. But it's like, oh, Ziggy is defeated, he's not destroyed, but we can't find him. But it's like, oh, for the next couple months he's out of commission. Like, he's busy repairing, upgrading, nobody knows how to find him, and it's just a point where he's kind of like out, pretty much just out of commission, and other bad guys are going to do things. Because I would assume that Mishima has plans for the other Galactica, considering he introduced them. The only thing I'm wondering right now is, because we know Eden Zero isn't planned to be nearly as long as Fairy Tail. I assume it's going to be around Rave Master's length, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But besides the Galactica, I mean, the only other people he's really got are the Heavenly Lights of the Dancing Sakura. So, like, if he wants to do anything else with them, he doesn't need to, considering a lot of them are dead. But that's only the only thing logically above the Galactica at this point, besides Ziggy. Ziggy's kind of his own thing. And then the Chronophages aren't really characters, they're kind of creatures. And then Mother's its own thing as well. So, like, there's just a lot of... not even a lot. There's a lot of stuff that could come after that, because each of the Heavenly Knights obviously would be pretty important. But it's like, it's confined in a specific bracket of characters and stuff that we know. We just haven't gotten to them potentially yet, or any other variation of what Mishima has planned. But, like, the basis of this chapter, there was a lot between Noah and Rebecca going over, like, pretty much explaining how her ability affects time. Like, there's a difference between worlds and universes. In the worlds, it's like her short-range time travel, where she's just going back, I think he's at like 90 seconds or whatever, and they're in like world 416, I believe. It was either 16 or 26. I think it was 416. But essentially her short-range time travel ends up setting a world differently, like kind of just altering a little bit, but ultimately time will try to get back to the pathway that it was originally designed on, which is why they keep running into Captain Connor in various ways. Even when events are altered, they still run into him. Whereas the larger scale one, like when she used Cat Leaper on Drac and Joe, examples pretty much of how it worked. In the original universe, Shiki died, they lost to Drac and Joe. In Universe 2, they beat Drac and Joe. And then this universe is when they beat Nero. And I guess in Universe 2, they were planned to lose to Nero, but obviously events changed. And there's a point when they're saying that they don't really know when exactly... like when exactly it was that she altered stuff to go to Universe 3. So I'm guessing that specifically has to do with the stuff of Ziggy, like related to Ziggy saying that Shiki made the wrong choice. That right now to me is the big question, because that Shiki's power and Rebecca's power are connected in a way, and it's just not entirely given to us, so it's still a bit of a mystery. When looking at all that, I'm wondering if it is gonna like allude to either Rebecca in the future, like going back and altering something. Maybe that's it. Like maybe they were supposed to lose, but Rebecca and them get away, and then Rebecca far in the future uses her ability to go back, alters that, and then messes with stuff to go to a different universe. Just time shenanigans, because we know that obviously time things are very connected in this. It's been very apparent that time shenanigans are way more tied into the plot of Eden Zero than how they were in Rave Master and in Fairy Tail. But the stuff at the end, like with Elsie talking to them, and then, you know, showing this planet, the planet Lendard. There was some people theorizing that maybe he's working with the Dead End Crow, like was named Titan. That would be really cool. I like this planet. I think it's pretty neat. It's just, you know, a big factory making all these machines and setting up his empire. He's definitely going to get some more than just, you know, raw minions. He's got to get, like, I don't know why he just doesn't make more, like, high-level robots like he's got, obviously, with his own personal group. I think that would be probably super beneficial to him. I mean, he probably will, unless he just wants to focus on these guys specifically. So we'll see exactly how that's all going to work. I was wondering with Killer, considering like around his eyes from Arc 2, he's got like the stitches. And it makes me wonder if he's a cyborg instead of a straight robot. Like it would play into like a, you know, maybe its own personal backstory, because, you know, it'd be weird for him to have a flesh being in his group at any point. But I guess a cyborg is different. Maybe a cyborg would be like more in the realm of like what Ziggy is okay with. But, you know, that's something we're gonna have to wait to see with. He does look really cool standing there, and I do like the horns and the way they just kind of stand out and curve in this panel. It just looks badass. I think that's the coolest part about his design in the setup. The cape too. I really like the way that Mishima shaded the cape. I think that was definitely a big beneficial aspect of this panel, because the other guys, they look cool. The white background obviously, you know, helps them stand out, but definitely Ziggy had some, you know, boss vibes in this one, and that's obviously what he's supposed to be. So we'll see exactly how this is gonna go. I don't think I don't believe that anything crazy is gonna happen, like more main characters, you know, getting killed off, or some big story altering thing, because we obviously just got to the time skip. So I wouldn't imagine there's gonna be a lot of mind-bending plot twists. I see a lot of what's gonna happen more as, my guess is going to be a lot of display, a lot of characters showing off their abilities, how their ether gears are right now, how their combat abilities are, because obviously they have those tons of just fodder robots, just numbers for them to throw attacks at. You can kill any of the Dark Stars and it wouldn't matter, because Ziggy is going to make a upgraded version at some point. So at the same time, they are kind of characters, but not really. So you can have them defeated. And I really like the idea, though, of Ziggy losing, but, you know, like I said, looking at all the areas that made him lose, upgrading them, and then making upgraded versions of all of these guys. Because one thing that he could definitely do, and this will be the last thing I mention in this one, because like I said, it's mostly set up, mostly talking about Rebecca's abilities, and obviously setting up this planet where they're going. One thing that Ziggy, I think, should do, and I think this is the most logical for him and the best fit out of Mishima's like main villains, maybe not like the biggest overall in the end, but I mean the only one that didn't set as like the final was Zeref, because, you know, Lucia did, but I mean we don't know with Ziggy entirely. But one thing that Ziggy has, and I think way more than others, is as a robot, you know, something like analyzing, using data, being able to record things, and obviously, you know, work as a computer. You could have Ziggy and his entire group lose, but Ziggy survives, and then not only would he have all the information on how to upgrade his abilities and whatnot and his minions, he would have the ability to analyze their opponents and upgrade himself and all his minions to be able to pretty much counteract the main cast, which would be really good. And there's also the one thing, actually, I have to have this bonus thing. It's not going to be a rant, but it's more of like a worry. And I don't know if it's, I feel like it has to be relevant. I don't have any proof that it's going to be relevant, but I feel like it has to be relevant. And that's the fact that Wise's power makes too much sense for Ziggy to want to steal. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't want to get Machina Maker. Like, that is the best ether gear for him possible. I don't think there's an ether gear shown in the series that would benefit him more than Machina Maker. That would just make him, at least currently, like, borderline unstoppable in his verse, because obviously so many things are based around tech, but on top of that, he would be able just to alter himself and his entire, you know, battalion of soldiers and stuff at any point in real time. So that's just what I wanted to bring up near the end, because I think that has to be something of plot relevance. Like, that's just something that it would be really weird to gloss over because it makes so much sense. But other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend, like, and subscribe, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.